It's a beautiful summer day. We're at the beach, Laguna Beach. There's this boardwalk that runs along the beach. There are people playing volleyball, a lot of activity down there, especially during the summers. We were enjoying our time. We had this family spot that myself, my wife Allison, and then our three girls. Ella's the oldest. Karis is the next one. She's 16 months younger. And then Tatum, 2 years difference between Karis and our youngest Tatum. We kind of carved out this spot, and that was our spot when we first started going to the beach in Orange County. And I'll never forget one day I'm walking with my girls along that boardwalk. None of us have our shoes on. They were all still over where all of our stuff was. And all of a sudden, Karis yelled. And she started hopping. And then she started crying. She's like, ow, ow, you know, the best that she could speak. At this time, she was like three years old. So the best that she could formulate words, I knew she was in pain. And she was hopping, so I'm like, man, she got a splinter in her foot. And so we sit down there on the boardwalk, and I look at her foot, and she has a honking. She basically had a tree branch coming out the bottom of her foot. It was massive, and she was in such pain. And I knew as her father, experiencing splinters in my life and being older and wiser, I knew that I needed to get that splinter out of her foot. But from where she was sitting, she knew that she was in pain. And she knew that hurt her. And she also knew that she didn't want anything or anyone to come near that splinter, because in her mind, she thought it was going to hurt worse. Well, so I've got to do what I've got to do. I mean, I know what I have to do, and I know that Karis isn't going to like it, but I know it's best for her. It's the best thing for her, is for me to take that splinter out of her foot. So I put her down, set her down next to me, picked her foot up, put it in my lap. She is trying to get away from me with all of her energy. She's yelling. People are looking at us. But I reach my fingers to the bottom of her foot. I take that branch that was sticking out, and I simply plucked it out. And then the pain went away. And she looked at me with these huge eyes. Of course, they were full of tears, but she wiped away the tears, and she looked at me with these big eyes of gratitude. And just like, thanks, Dad. And in that moment, I started to think about how we are with God. How oftentimes in our life, we hold on to these pains. We hold on to these hurts. Maybe a past relationship. It may be a loss of employment. It may be we're just kind of angry because God made us in a certain way and we really aren't happy about it. We wish that we had a different nose. We wish that we had different ears. We wish that we had straight hair and we have curly hair, or curly hair and we have straight hair. I mean, I don't know what it is. You do. You know those things that you may be holding on to in your life, just like I know the things in my life that I may be holding on. They're splinters. They don't hurt anybody else. They are hurting us. They're causing us pain. And the whole time, God's looking at us like, you know, I know what to do. I'm God. I made you. I know what's best for you. Let me remove this. Let me pluck this splinter out of your foot. You'll walk a whole lot easier. You'll walk with a lot less pain. What's the splinter in your life? What's that event? What's that thing that's causing you pain that you know God is just ready to lift out of your life? I remember with Karis, you know, there was a little blood, a little torn flesh, and over time those things healed. But the splinter was out. God wants to remove that splinter in your life. God wants to remove that splinter in your heart. There may be some healing, some mending that has to take place. It may be a pretty deep splinter. But God can, God will, God longs to remove that splinter from your life. But you gotta let Him. You gotta let Him. Karis was fighting against me. She was scared. She finally surrendered and allowed me to pluck that splinter right out the bottom of her foot. Why don't you do the same to God?